Welcome back to part two of the threat findings series inside of here. So, on the last one, I gave an explanation of the data sources and the finding sources and how even Exaforce creates its own detections inside of here as well, on top of automatically triaging alerts from third party vendors. However, I wanted to take it a step further and kind of show you some of the things that are unique to the platform that I'm not really seeing in too many other areas in the industry. And it really is a differentiator for us. So I want to go find, we'll just go pick really kind of any detection. So I see this one that came from AWS. It was a guard duty detection, and we saw AWS guard duty user invoking discovery APIs from new ISN. So let's go ahead and open this one up and take a look here. So just like I was showing in the previous one, you're going to get your, just kind of the generic naming from the source itself. So this one came from guard duty, discovering APIs from new ASN in the Ukraine. So what we're going to be greeted with here is basically, all of the description, things that we saw impacted here in the guard duty summary, and then, everything that we kind of discussed before where, saying this one, hey, we looked at it. This looks like legitimate activity from a user in your environment. They normally come from the Ukraine. This is a normal ISP change. Everything looks good here. We have high confidence that this is a low priority. And we ended up agreeing with guard duty on this one that this was a low priority. But, all of the information here was presented of what we know, and we can go trigger additional workflow. So just a quick summary of what we talked about the last one. However, one of the things we really didn't want to do inside of this platform is make it a black box. So we come up with this really nice assessment inside of here and say, hey, here's all the things that, the conclusions we came to for the principal location, all these good things. But what if you wanted to validate us? What if you want to say, great, Exaforce, you gave us that assessment, but I want to validate what you're telling me. Some of the things that we're seeing just kind of, in the side of the space is where it's like, well, that's just kind of it. You just need to kind of take our word for it, that we came with these off of the queries that we ran. So instead of doing that, what we put inside of here is an investigate tab. And you'll always find it right next to the assessment tab. We can click on investigate here. And what this is going to do for you is it's going to reveal all of the questions that were asked and essentially all of the data that the bots had access to. So as you come inside of here, you're going to see events cross CloudTrail sessions inside of here. So not only this guard duty alert came inside of the system, but also remember, we collect raw data as well. Since we're bringing in things like CloudTrail activity inside of the environment, it's saying, hey, here's everything we saw this user do from a CloudTrail perspective inside of here, all the services they impacted. Here's an entire table of all of the events that we saw being done inside of the environment from a CloudTrail perspective for this user and this location as well. And as we start to scroll down, you'll see all of these questions that were asked inside of here. So basically, who was the identity that was being impacted inside of here? It's saying we know that information right here. It's this user. I could go open this up and it'll go take me to this actual user themselves. So it's saying this one, this user actually has been deleted from the environment. However, here's everything that we know about Nazar inside of our tenant. And we can see everything. This was an IDC user. We can see every session that they ran, everything that we have access to from kind of a baseline normalized perspective of this user, everything we know about them. Additionally, saying, hey, were there impacted sessions inside of here? And it says there was an entire session that where, in one sitting, what did this user do inside of the environment? Do you want to go load that session? Absolutely. Let's go take a look at that. I want to understand everything they did inside of here. So here's that root session ID inside of here. And basically here's an entire table of everything that was done during that session that was anomalous that ended up triggering that guard duty finding. So basically it's saying, hey, here's everything that we know about the day, how long the session was, all of the events, the locations, user agent strings, just a wealth of information inside of here. And as we start to scroll down, even a map saying, hey, we saw this was the IDC user, we saw the SAML session established, and basically they went and assumed this role and did their actions inside of here. So even giving you a process tree of how we saw the whole thing take place, the role that was assumed, everything that we know about that role. I could go open that up. Hey, who normally assumes this role? Where do we see it assumed from? So just all of the information that you would actually want to go ask being presented inside of here, and the bots revealing, saying, hey, we went and asked all of these questions. Where is there an enterprise user? Yes, we know that enterprise user. We could go open that up inside of here and go learn more about them. And then this is all from a principal standpoint, and it just keeps going. So the actor itself, so the IP address that was in question inside of here it was right here. If we want to know, hey, is there other activities maybe that have been done from this IP address? Now, the Exobots have already revealed that information for us, but if I wanted to go validate that, hey, let's go load that IP address. It's going to put in that filter, and here's every action we've ever even seen come from that IP address. Events, locations, resource information, other identities coming from there. What resources have been impacted during this session inside of here. So it says any other impacted resource that we've seen. Yes, there is other resources. Here's all of the things that were impacted. We see these read events on these buckets. And management related events. So there's just a real wealth of knowledge inside of here, and letting you not ultimately, I would say, run into a dead end during your investigation. Because if you're just greeted with this assessment, I think this is very valuable information. It's great. I really appreciate this being put in front of me like this, but I want to go a little bit deeper. I want to understand maybe a little bit more, but like, hey, what information did you have access to? What questions you asked to come up with this? I can always jump inside the investigate tab and not only just consume what's inside of here, but ultimately pivot from here as well and continue to ask more questions if I want to. Just for example, like I did under the principal settings, I could go take a look at, hey, we know this user was impacted. Ultimately, this was the enterprise user that was impacted inside of here. I could very quickly go open up any of these and pivot just like I was doing for this one. That showed me the IDC user and all their actions and their roles and their permissions and runtime. So this is just where we wanted to take the ability to write these assessments inside of here, but also prevent maybe, an L3 or even upping what maybe an L2 would have access to, and be able to keep asking more questions about this and be like, hey, let's go dive in deeper inside of here. So I wanted to share this with you. I do feel like this was something that I really appreciated when I started leveraging the platform. That's like, hey, here's all the information the questions we asked, the information we had access to. Do you want to keep diving in? And you can do so. So thank you for joining, and stick with me as we continue to dive further into the platform. Thank you.